Welcome back then to our end of season reviews, and we're once again down at the Five Rivers. And if you're watching on YouTube, we've made a substitution, but hopefully if you're listening along on the podcast, it will seem seamless. Clive joins me alongside me downstairs in the basement. But if you also want to listen to the rest of the show, the bumper edition, click in the card above our heads, or you can download in the most audio platforms below the show. But for the rest of people watching on YouTube, you can watch our bite-sized reviews. And we'll be taking your clips and a lot of questions in this second half of this show from some familiar faces that we spoke to over this season. And once again, this episode is sponsored by OneFootball. And do make sure you check out the excellent free OneFootball app to keep up to date, the first to know of all the latest transfer news, stats, scores, all in one place. To download the OneFootball app, click the link in the description. All right then, so moving on then. Everyone that seems to watch Saints over the last few years, we love a scapegoat. It's recently been Wesley Hoedt, it's been Jack Stevens, as far as Nathan Redmond, Angus
Fraser
Gunn,
before that.
Fraser, Forster,
Yeah.
and the list goes on all the way back to your childhood watching Saints. There's always one player on the pitch that's always culpable for a mistake or two.
Right.
But we've got a couple of nominees from our clips sent in from Ben the Archers Road, the chaps from the In That Number podcast, and Glenn de la Cour, another unfiltered opinion.
Okay.
Anti-hero of the season, we've had two games in particular this year where the refereeing has been shocking. One was Stuart Attwell at Old Trafford, who gave them absolutely everything, every big decision, every small decision. It's the small decisions that make the most difference because they mean you don't get any momentum whatsoever. So them pulling back one of your players doesn't get punished. So Stuart Attwell at Manchester United was abysmal. But the worst was Kevin Friend in the Tottenham game at home, where we somehow won despite so many decisions going against us. He was going to book, the classic was he was going to book Moussa Sissoko for raking Nathan Redmond's Achilles. Already had the yellow card out. After that, he watched Sissoko headbutt Redmond and still only gave him a yellow card. And it couldn't get reviewed because apparently he saw the incident. I don't get that at all. VAR will hopefully even things up a little bit, though I'm sure there will still be controversies, and I'm sure we'll still be sat here this time next year bemoaning how the big clubs get all the bloody decisions.
I would say probably the biggest villain of the season was Mark Hughes, because by the end of it, it just seemed like he didn't really care and didn't really want to be here. The interview that he gave before the Manchester United game suggested he knew that he was out. But what kind of frustrated me the most was just the absolute lack of care he took in pre-season. There was no plan, there was no strategy, there was no discernible style of play all the way up until Christmas. It just seemed like more luck than judgment when we did get a result. So I think it's a tie for me between probably Les Reed for the poor signings that we've made over the past few years, and I would also say Mark Hughes for really just being the poor manager we all hoped that he wouldn't be, myself included. I thought he would be. I thought he could have been okay, but clearly he wasn't.
Villain of the season. I think the obvious choice is going to be Wesley Hoedt for his antics on and off the pitch. He's made some atrocious mistakes, including just an embarrassing own goal against Liverpool, and also his social media twattery has pissed off most of the fan base. I've heard that he's taken Southampton Football Club off of his social media profiles, and I hope the club reciprocates in the summer by taking him off our books.
Villains, I guess you have to say Mark Hughes. Of course, I was happy when he kept us up, but his tactics and team selection, were never going to keep us up this time. And he stuck to his dogmatic ways, not willing to change, insisted in freezing out James Ward-Prowse and sticking Wesley Hoedt. When you've got a perfectly good centre-half in Jan Bednarek, who was arguably our best centre-back this year, and the complete opposite of Ralph, and our season changed dramatically when he left.
So the nominees are then, Clive, we've got Mark Hughes, two nominations in fact from Ben and Ray there together. Kev nominates Wesley Hoedt, and Glenn actually, we love to moan about referees.
Well, we do.
But I've got another left field, a sort of fourth nomination, and I suppose he was a pantomime villain this season, Ralph Krueger. Every time that he came out in these, fan forums, he was, I suppose you could say, brainwashing, the fans with his American culturisms. And he was very much a scapegoat at some times. People bemoaning, maligning him. What's happening to the club? Where's the money? Where's the investment? So who's the award going to then, Clive?
For me, it has to go to the referees, without a shadow of a doubt. Mark Hughes, very disappointing he didn't exactly set the world on fire keeping us up, but you thought, okay, he's going to steady the ship now. You've done that job that you were put into to do. You've got your 2 million.
Yeah.
Would he have just sailed off into the sunset and we'd have held him in high esteem? He didn't. He just, the club obviously sat down and talked to him. And for a number of other clubs, it hasn't worked, does it? The quick fix has happened. Man United, a quick fix has happened, and then it's all gone wrong afterwards. I don't think Mark Hughes was as bad as everyone's making out. That might be controversial.
Oh.
Yeah, it probably will be controversial. but
unpopular opinion.
Unpopular opinion, of course. But he's a professional. He did it the way he saw fit. Wasn't right, but we got so close in so many games, and we should have probably been 10 points better off when he left, which nobody would have even been considering sacking him. But thank the Lord they did, because we've got Ralph in, and the whole mood has changed. So I get why people are anti Mark Hughes, because Ralph's been so good, and when you compare the two, there is no comparison. One man's got imagination, one man's got charisma with the crowd, with the players. The other guy is just a solid old professional doing what he sees is best, and pretty stubborn with it.
He was a robotic character, wasn't he?
Yes.
I think you mentioned this, last week about Ralph going up to the fans every game, away,
connection,
home and away. But rather, Mark Hughes, he went straight down the tunnel.
Yeah.
But you said the award goes to the referees, and I think it has to be tipped. In fact, well done to Charlie Austin for breaking for the straw that broke the camel's back earlier this season. And finally, we are seeing video assistant referees next season.
Well, we are, and it's a good thing for Saints, because let's face it, and all the teams down the bottom there, because much as I detest Warnock and Cardiff's fans, I'm sorry, but they're just not a very nice club in my book. But they got stitched up massively. I mean, I felt dreadful after the Tottenham game, and we won. But the Chelsea game was absolute criminal decisions. And but Kevin Friend, for us, he takes the pantomime villain of the season, because it wasn't just the little decisions, it was the big things he got wrong on there. Vertonghen nearly kicking Sims's head off. Like Glenn mentions, the headbutt. It wasn't a proper headbutt, but you get sent off for that. You've made contact. It's incredible. It was the whole game. I've watched it back. I keep watching it back. I've got it on my record, and I still can't believe how we won. But we did. Thank God we did, and that was the turning point.
Incredible game of the season.
Yeah. But not because of that referee. That's what made it so much better. Yes, it was Tottenham, probably the second in the Premiership, the second team that we despise the most. Yeah. And yes, they got the advantage in the game. They were bossing us. They should have won it. They should have been out of sight at half time. But it was the comeback in that game. And so pantomime villain definitely goes to Kevin Friend in my book. Not just referees, but Kevin Friend, believe me, he got the cup final. How does he get the cup final after a game like that?
Well, he's no friend of ours.
He's no friend of ours, Freddie. You like the cliches.